What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another ProGuides weekly news recap. I'm Kangas, and today I'll be talking about everything league related that happened over the past week. We got a lot to talk about, including a brand new MMO based on the league universe, so let's get right into it. The first thing that we need to talk about is the announcement of Riot's MMO. Ghostcrawler tweeted that he started off production for a massive game, which was then confirmed to be an MMO. We're finally going to get some more exploration and insight into the Runeterra universe. Before we dive into lore stuff though, Ghostcrawler mentioned that there will be a lot of opportunities for jobs down the line. We'll start to see postings on the Riot website around January, and they'll continue to flow during the whole process. So if you're looking for a job, don't forget to apply. It's important to remember that we've only been giving an announcement about starting the game development process. MMOs take a massive amount of time and effort to make as well, so we probably won't hear anything seriously for at least another 4 to 5 years. Some people are expecting a decade before release, so we'll need to wait to see what's fully going on. So while we wait for 10 years, the League universe will be constantly expanding. There's so much potential in an MMO, including champion cameos and familiar environments. It sounds pretty cool to start out in the Freyord and learn archery from Ashe. With all the skins, there's room for multiple timelines, kind of like how TFT used skins for new designs. Riot has a lot of connections, shown specifically through their playtesting and development of Valorant. They already have Ghostcrawler, who worked as one of the lead designers of World of Warcraft. So I'd be surprised if they managed to mess up this project for an MMO. I hope Riot is transparent during the development process though, like they were with Valorant. We don't need the actual details, just updates on the timeline whenever it's possible. That would be appreciated. In more Riot news, Riot Korea announced that they're going to actively take measures against intentional feeding tied into gambling websites. This issue started off with Faker's teammates playing seriously bad in a lot of his games, and after a few matches, people started to notice some patterns. There were a handful of names that just kept popping up, always AFKing or inting. The connection was made to gambling websites dedicated to betting on T1's members, or more specifically, betting against them, with Faker being the most popular one. Players were intentionally losing Faker's matches so that they could make money on the bets. Riot Korea has been ignoring this problem for a while, but they finally announced that they're focusing on stopping it. Korean players are disappointed that it took so long to deal with griefers from other servers, but hey, better late than never. It's been a little over a week since the release of Rell, one of the quieter champion releases recently. She fills a role similar to Braum, but a bit more engage heavy, making her a pretty solid support on paper. Her win rate isn't that amazing though, with highs in the 48% and lowering as you climb through the ranks. This is expected with a new champion, especially one with so many tools as Rell. Part of the reason she'll never have a super high win rate is because she's too team reliant. Her damage isn't bad, but she's not as explosive as Leona. If you don't get fast follow-up when you decide to commit with your W, you'll probably just die. She can't engage from a range, making her a serious all-in champion. We'll need to wait and see if she gets buffed, and then we'll need to see her in pro play before we can come to any major conclusions. Outside of her stats though, some players feel that her personality doesn't really match. She's really standoffish and reluctant to get help from her allies, constantly saying that she'd rather work alone. Not every support is nice, but Rell just feels a bit weird when her kit is entirely team reliant. It's like if she's always used these skills, she probably wouldn't decide to do supportive things. I can see the point, but honestly, I don't care too much. I've been playing with the voice lines at low volume since Zoe came out anyway, so I barely even hear those. All-Stars is also happening this week. It started on Thursday and lasted a few days with some hilarious matchups and meme-filled games. It's kind of a toss-up for who enjoys the event, but I always find it fun to see pro players in a more semi-casual environment, giving them a chance to enjoy the game for different reasons than winning. A bunch of teams were even spelling out TSM with their bans, never letting us forget our favorite 0-6 Worlds team. All-Stars also is a chance to shine some light on new faces and streamers in the scene. If you haven't seen yet, I really suggest watching Faker play Rengar bot in one of his LCK matches. The new season means yet another year of LCS, but this time there's a bunch of changes to the pro scene. Pro players and viewers have shared complaints about the LCS, specifically the infrequency of games, so let's take a look at everything that's changing and what that will mean for LCS in 2021. The beginning of the year will kick off on January 15th with the LCS Lock-In, a 3-week tournament with money going to the winning team and to charity. The winners will also have side selection in a Game 5 scenario during the season. LCS Lock-In will start with a round robin and move into a single elimination bracket for first place. Starting the season with the tournament is a great way to gauge the early skill of teams without any major drawbacks. Teams will have the opportunity to get 3 weeks of practice on stage as well, which will definitely help them mesh together as 5. The Spring Split regular season starts on February 5th and ends March 14th. The new Spring Split will have 5 games a day over 3 days. Friday Night League starts at 3 p.m. Pacific time, while Saturday and Sunday will start at 1 p.m. Spring ends with the Mid-Season Showdown, which is replacing what used to be Spring Playoffs. The Showdown is pretty much the same format as playoffs would be, but there are a few technical changes which will make decisions about side selection and ties much more clear. One big change is that the winner of the Showdown will not only play at MSI, they will earn an LCS title. This is big, and it makes Spring Split feel way more important than we thought it would before. Summer Split is going to start on June 4th and end August 1st. This time it'll be a triple round robin played over 9 total weeks. Don't worry, this just means that the teams will face each other a fair number of times. The season will end like usual with the championship tournament to find out who's going to Worlds. This time, seeding is determined by both spring and summer performances though, so it's a full year gauge. Looking through all the changes, I really can't find many issues. LCS 2021 is going to have plenty more games to watch, so as a viewer, much more fun, and it also gives our pros more practice. Making Spring Split affect seeding will also make sure teams don't slack off early in the year. Teams will need to find their footing before or during the LCS lock-ins, so I hope we'll see pros pushing themselves during this preliminary tournament. Speaking of pro play, SMEB and Flame announced their retirements this week. 2020 has been a tough year, and I'm sure the stress has gotten to everyone. For most of these now retired players, they've invested 5 or more years into the game, some playing since the beginning of Season 1. And that makes 10 years of time playing League, literally half of some of these players' lives. With so many prominent figures retiring, new chances appear for fresh faces to jump into a scene. The true test of a game scene is what happens after the initial legacy of players leaves. This is an especially important year for NA, with Doublelift and Bjergsen stepping out of the spotlight. We probably won't have a comfortable face of LCS like we have in the past, but that doesn't mean we won't get new exciting stories in the future. We got 10 new rookies this year. Let that sink in. As the meta settles down before the holidays, patch 10.25 brought some big changes. Despite Riot's constant nerfs and changes, it still feels like we'll never get rid of having powerful tanks in the game. The good news is tanks aren't the only thing that you can pick anymore though. There are a lot of powerful fighters and bruisers in the top lane like Pantheon and Camille. The jungle has some powerful tanks, but also assassins too. If we can tone down the overall damage a bit, I think things will look a lot better. The one major issue that just won't go away is the constant need for grievous wounds though. Since the middle of Season 10, healing has gotten to the point where you just need a source of healing cut in pretty much every single game. The new items attempted to solve this by giving us an advanced version of Grievous Wounds, but no one ever seems to complete the item due to how bad the full one is for gold efficiency. It's way better to just sit on the Oblivion Orb and finish your core items before going for that Morellonomicon. Right now, healing is pretty much a part of every high damage AD champion in the entire game, and Ravenous Hunter and Conqueror just give free healing for dealing damage, which works until it gets too strong. I think healing in League is just too hard to balance right now without making one or the other feel pointless. Riot mentioned plans for making the early game components for Grievous Wounds, like Executioners, give the full value of heal cut. This would give a total of 20% more heal cut in the mid game, and definitely would help shut down that enemy-fed Aatrox. But will it be enough? In other news, events are something the players don't get to experience often anymore. When we do, it's usually just a skin-related pass and extra cosmetic options for the themes. Some players are bringing up concerns about these events, saying that they're stale and pretty much just money grabs at this point. Remember when Riot used to do stuff for free? Well, Riot has addressed these issues before, specifically mentioning that the retention rate of players and these new game modes just isn't worth their resources. They'd rather invest in more concrete additions like Nexus Splits and URF. We probably won't get another PvE game mode like the Star Guardian event, and if we do, I think it'll be a more fleshed out PvE mode, something that Riot would want to make a rotating game mode. They might even tie it into an event like they did with the Nexus Splits Ionia redesign. Personally, I'm still holding out for that winter-themed Nexus. And the last thing on our list is an addition to GRAGAS' lore of all things. Riot released a color story titled A Well-Earned Tip, giving players a better look at GRAGAS and his personality. The story itself is a fun read. The writers really give us a vivid, overly descriptive image of just how big and strong GRAGAS is. Dude is like 8 feet tall and his arms like trees. We figured out that GRAGAS is just a brewmaster who wants to make the perfect drink, and will throw people into walls if they try and trick him. He's also actually pretty nice, and gives the young boy who gave him his drink a huge tip. Kinda feels like they just redid Braum on that one. GRAGAS is just a really old champion with no real personality when he released, and while we probably won't see a gameplay update, I'm so glad that we can at least learn about his Runeterra lore. Who knows, maybe he'll be a part of the new MMO. and this new description of Gragas makes him feel much more like Braum, a tall tale of legend. Well, that's about everything for our weekly recap. If you're interested in anything else regarding the League of Legends meta, champion releases, powerful builds, and more, make sure to subscribe to our channel for much more content coming soon. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, good luck on the Rift, stay hydrated, and wash your hands.